Living with his grandmother was never part of Alex's plan, but it gave us one of the funniest comedies of 2006. Fans still remember the eccentric roommates, non-stop gaming, and unforgettable one-liners that made Grandma's Boy a cult classic. But nobody expected what happened after the cameras stopped rolling. One star battled chronic illness for years, another disappeared from Hollywood, while others completely reinvented their lives. Nearly 20 years later, this is what the cast looks like in 2026. Allen Covert as Alex. Allen Covert was born on October 13, 1964, in West Palm Beach, Florida. At 41 years old, he played Alex, the video game tester who is evicted from his apartment and forced to move into his grandmother's house, setting off every outrageous event in Grandma's Boy. Alex's childish behavior, obsession with video games, and unlikely journey toward maturity made him the emotional and comedic center of the film. The biggest turning point came when Grandma's Boy earned only about $6.6 million worldwide against an estimated $5 million production budget, falling far short of studio expectations. Although the comedy gradually became a cult classic through DVD sales and streaming, Hollywood largely stopped offering Covert leading roles. He responded by shifting behind the camera as a producer for Happy Madison Productions, and later founded the children's publishing company, Cherry Tree Books. His personal life also changed dramatically after marrying Catherine Ashley in 2006. They welcomed 4 children, but the marriage ended in divorce in 2019 after 13 years together. By 2026, Covert is 61 years old and works behind the scenes as a producer on Happy Madison projects while focusing much of his time on Cherry Tree Books, remaining closely connected to Adam Sandler despite stepping away from leading acting roles. Doris Roberts as Grandma Lily. Doris Roberts was born on November 4, 1925, in St. Louis, Missouri. At 80 years old, she played Grandma Lily, the kind-hearted grandmother who welcomes Alex into her home after he loses his apartment, only to surprise everyone by living with 2 equally outrageous roommates. The role allowed Roberts to do what audiences had loved her for throughout her career, earning her a place among television's greatest sitcom stars. Her unforgettable portrayal of Marie Barone in Everybody Loves Raymond brought her 4 Primetime Emmy Awards, contributing to a remarkable total of 5 Emmy wins, while a Screen Actors Guild Award further recognized her extraordinary career. Behind the laughter, however, Roberts endured heartbreaking loss when her second husband, celebrated novelist William Goyen, died from leukemia in 1983 after 2 decades of marriage. Rather than retreat from public life, she became one of Hollywood's strongest advocates against age discrimination, challenging an industry that often overlooked older actresses. Roberts remained active almost until the end of her life, before dying peacefully in her sleep after suffering a stroke on April 17, 2016, at the age of 90, leaving behind more than 6 decades of unforgettable performances. Linda Cardellini, as Samantha Linda Cardellini, was born on June 25, 1975, in Redwood City, California. At 30 years old, she played Samantha, Alex's caring co-worker and the only woman who consistently saw beyond his childish behavior, encouraging him when nearly everyone else dismissed him as an overgrown teenager. Her warmth and patience provided the emotional balance to the film's outrageous comedy, making Samantha one of its most grounded characters. Her career reached a new level with acclaimed performances in Mad Men, Bloodline, Green Book, and Netflix's Dead to Me, earning 3 Primetime Emmy Award nominations between 2019 and 2021. As her career became busier, balancing Hollywood with family life brought new challenges. After a 5-year relationship with actor Jason Segel, Cardellini became engaged to Steven Rodriguez in 2013, and the couple welcomed their daughter Lila Rose the following year. By 2026, at 51 years old, she takes leading roles in both television and film while raising her daughter and maintaining one of the most consistent careers of her generation. Shirley Jones as Grace. Shirley Jones was born on March 31, 1934, in Charleroi, Pennsylvania. At 71 years old, she appeared as Grace, one of Grandma Lily's spirited roommates whose mischievous personality turned an ordinary retirement home into one of the wildest households in Grandma's Boy. Watching Jones throw herself into outrageous comedy was a reminder of the remarkable versatility that had defined her entire career. Long before embracing eccentric supporting roles, she had become one of Hollywood's brightest musical stars, winning the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress for Elmer Gantry, 1960, after unforgettable performances in classics such as Oklahoma, Carousel, and the beloved television series The Partridge Family. Her private life, however, was filled with repeated tragedy. Her marriage to actor Jack Cassidy was overshadowed by his bipolar disorder, alcoholism, and repeated affairs, ending in divorce in 1975. Just 1 year later, Cassidy died in a devastating house fire, a loss that haunted Jones for decades. More heartbreak followed with the deaths of her second husband Marty Ingalls in 2015 and David Cassidy in 2017, whom she had loved as her own son. Today, Jones is 92 years old and continues making occasional public appearances while remaining one of the last living Oscar-winning stars from Hollywood's classic musical era. Shirley Knight as Bea. Shirley Knight was born on July 5, 1936, in Gosel, Kansas. At 69 years old, she appeared as Bea, one of Grandma Lily's outspoken elderly roommates, whose blunt remarks and fearless attitude added another layer of chaos to Alex's unconventional new home. Knight brought the same emotional authenticity and effortless screen presence. That remarkable range earned her Academy Award nominations for The Dark at the Top of the Stairs, 1960, and Sweet Bird of Youth, 1962, while her work across stage and television brought 3 Primetime Emmy Awards and a Tony Award, making her one of the rare performers honored in all 3 mediums. Away from the spotlight, however, happiness proved far more difficult to sustain. Her first marriage to producer Gene Person ended in divorce in 1969, and the death of her second husband, acclaimed British screenwriter John Hopkins, in 1998 left her emotionally devastated after nearly 3 decades together. As her health gradually declined, Knight quietly stepped away from acting and spent her final years in an assisted living facility following complications from falls. She died of natural causes on April 22, 2020, at the age of 83, closing a career that had earned admiration for more than 6 decades. Peter Dante as Dante. Peter Dante was born on December 16, 1968, in West Hartford, Connecticut. At 37 years old, he played Dante, the loud, unpredictable dealer whose bizarre behavior and unforgettable one-liners made him one of the wildest personalities in Grandma's Boy. The role perfectly matched the offbeat comic image that audiences already associated with him after a long run of appearances in Adam Sandler films, including The Waterboy, Big Daddy, Mr. Deeds, and 50 First Dates. For a time, Dante seemed destined to remain one of Happy Madison's most recognizable supporting actors. That momentum collapsed under a series of increasingly serious legal scandals. In 2013, he was removed from a Los Angeles hotel after racially abusing and threatening employees, damaging his reputation and effectively ending his relationship with Happy Madison Productions. His troubles escalated in September 2021, when he was arrested for allegedly threatening to kill a neighbor during a dispute over construction noise. Only months later, in 2022, he made headlines again after causing a disturbance at a restaurant over COVID-19 mask rules. By 2026, at 57 years old, Dante has largely disappeared from mainstream Hollywood, with years of legal troubles and alleged substance abuse overshadowing the promising comedy career he once enjoyed. Joel David Moore as J.P. Joel David Moore was born on September 25, 1977, in Portland, Oregon. At 28 years old, he played J.P., the painfully awkward video game tester whose social anxiety, strange habits, and unforgettable dance scene made him one of Grandma's Boy's most beloved characters. Moore's ability to turn an eccentric outsider into someone audiences genuinely rooted for revealed a comedic timing that soon opened far bigger opportunities. That breakthrough arrived in 2009, when director James Cameron cast him as scientist Norm Spellman in Avatar, a role he later reprised in Avatar: The Way of Water, 2022. He also became familiar to television audiences through Bones and films such as Dodgeball, a true underdog story. The success, however, followed years of uncertainty. Moore spent much of the early 2000s accepting tiny supporting roles, filming commercials, and taking whatever work he could find while waiting for a career-defining opportunity. His personal life also changed dramatically after his first marriage to Kymalaine Andrews ended in divorce only 2 years later. In 2014, he married Catherine Lee Cowell, started a family, and gradually expanded his career beyond acting into directing and producing. Now, Moore is 48 years old and continues balancing acting with filmmaking, developing independent projects while remaining part of James Cameron's ongoing Avatar franchise. Nick Swardson as Jeff. Unlike most of the cast, Nick Swardson helped shape Grandma's Boy long before the cameras started rolling. Born on October 9, 1976, in Minneapolis, Minnesota, he was 29 years old when he not only appeared as Jeff, the eccentric friend forever getting caught in ridiculous situations, but also co-wrote the screenplay that became one of the decade's biggest cult comedies. His outrageous style soon made him a familiar face through Reno 911, numerous Comedy Central stand-up specials, and films including Bucky Larson, Born to be a Star. Behind the jokes, however, Swardson fought a far more dangerous battle with alcohol addiction. In 2019, he was hospitalized with acute alcohol-induced pancreatitis, suffered multiple organ failure, and later revealed that he had fallen into a coma while doctors fought to save his life. Although he survived, the addiction continued to cast a shadow over his career. In March 2024, a stand-up performance in Colorado ended abruptly after he appeared heavily intoxicated, spoke incoherently, and was escorted off stage before finishing the show. By 2026, Swardson is 49 years old and performs stand-up while speaking more openly about his long struggle with alcoholism and recovery. Kevin Nealon as Mr. Cheezle. Kevin Nealon was born on November 18, 1953, in St. Louis, Missouri. At 52 years old, he played Mr. Cheezle, the intimidating president of Brainasium, whose constant clashes with Alex threatened both his career and the future of the company's secret video game project. Nealon's deadpan delivery and perfectly controlled expressions turned an otherwise ordinary authority figure into one of the film's funniest antagonists. That understated comedic style had already made him a household name during his celebrated run on Saturday Night Live, where he spent 9 seasons as a cast member and anchor of Weekend Update. Off-screen, Nealon faced major changes in both his personal life and his health. His first marriage to Linda Gaze ended in divorce in 2002, but he found lasting happiness after marrying actress Susan Yeagley in 2005, and the couple welcomed their son the following year. He was also diagnosed with atrial fibrillation, a potentially dangerous heart rhythm disorder, and chose to speak publicly about the condition to encourage early detection and healthier lifestyles. In 2026, at 72 years old, Nealon continues touring as a stand-up comedian, appearing in television projects, and using his platform to raise awareness about heart health. Jonah Hill as Barry. Jonah Hill was born on December 20, 1983, in Los Angeles, California. At 22 years old, he brought unforgettable energy to the brief role of Barry, the loud-mouthed rival gamer whose over-the-top trash talk perfectly captured the competitive spirit of the film's gaming world. He used small comedy roles like this to build momentum toward one of Hollywood's most surprising careers. Within a few years, he broke through with Superbad and 21 Jump Street, then dramatically reshaped his image by earning Academy Award nominations for Moneyball, 2011, and The Wolf of Wall Street, 2013. Behind that success, however, Hill struggled for years under relentless public scrutiny over his fluctuating weight, later revealing that constant media attention contributed to body dysmorphia, anxiety, and deep insecurity about his appearance. Another devastating blow came in 2017, when his older brother, Jordan Feldstein, died unexpectedly at the age of 40 from a pulmonary embolism. In 2023, Hill returned to the headlines after former girlfriend Sarah Brady released private text messages accusing him of emotional manipulation and controlling behavior, triggering widespread public controversy. Today, Hill is 42 years old and continues directing, producing, and acting while remaining outspoken about therapy, mental health, and protecting his privacy. Kelvin Yu as Kane. Kelvin Yu was born on July 28, 1978, in Los Angeles, California. At 27 years old, he played Kane, one of the Brainaceum employees who became caught up in the company's increasingly chaotic race to finish its revolutionary video game. Although the role was relatively small, it reflected the steady screen presence that helped Yu establish himself during the early years of his acting career. Realizing that acting alone offered limited opportunities, he went on to become an Emmy Award-winning writer and producer for the acclaimed animated series Bob's Burgers, appeared as Brian Chang in Master of None, and later created the Disney Plus series American-Born Chinese. Yu began creating stories that reflected experiences rarely seen on television, eventually becoming one of the industry's most respected Asian American creators. In 2026, at 47 years old, he is developing television projects as a writer, producer, and showrunner while helping expand authentic representation for Asian American voices in Hollywood. Jonathan Loughran as Josh. While many viewers recognize Jonathan Loughran from countless Adam Sandler comedies, few realize how often he quietly became one of the familiar faces holding those worlds together. Born on November 3, 1966, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Loughran was 39 years old when he played Josh in Grandma's Boy, adding another eccentric supporting performance to the long list of memorable characters he created for Happy Madison Productions. His rugged appearance and effortless comic delivery also made him a recognizable presence in films including The Waterboy, Kill Bill, Volume 1, and Grindhouse. Yet the same qualities that kept him consistently employed also became the greatest obstacle of his career. As one of Adam Sandler's closest longtime friends and collaborators, Loughran was repeatedly cast as intimidating henchmen, oddball side characters, or rough-edged comic figures, leaving him few opportunities to prove himself in leading or more dramatic roles. Rather than chasing Hollywood stardom, he embraced the stability of character acting and largely kept his private life away from public attention. Now, Loughran is 59 years old and making occasional appearances in film and television, remaining a trusted member of Sandler's creative circle and one of the most recognizable supporting actors in the Happy Madison family. Shauna Hyatt as Pamela Mills. Shauna Hyatt was born on December 17, 1975, in Tabernash, Colorado. At 30 years old, she played Pamela Mills, the attractive executive at Brainaceum, whose brief appearance added another obstacle to the wildly competitive world surrounding Alex and his fellow video game testers. Thanks to the role, she became internationally recognized as the charismatic host of the World Poker Tour, helping transform televised poker into a mainstream entertainment phenomenon during its explosive rise in popularity. However, her greatest professional challenge arrived in 2005 and 2006, when a bitter legal dispute erupted after she left the World Poker Tour to host NBC's National Heads Up Poker Championship. WPT sought a court injunction to block the move, arguing that her contract prohibited her from working for a competing poker broadcast. The high-profile lawsuit disrupted one of television's most recognizable hosting careers and overshadowed her growing success in entertainment. Away from work, Hyatt experienced 3 marriages, including relationships with actor James Van Patten and producer Todd Garner. In 2026, at 50 years old, she has largely stepped away from the spotlight, living a far more private life after leaving television's poker boom behind. So that's The Grandma's Boy, 2006 cast in 2026. What do you think after the video? Which cast member surprised you the most, and who was your favorite character in the film? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more Then and Now videos.